What's up, vegan bellers? I'm going to talk to you today about the 5 principles by which I live my life. I originally designed these principles around the gym that I had and failed. It failed for various reasons, which I may get into in another video. I probably won't, though. But the idea is that these 5 principles came up through my practice with strength training, but then when you extrapolate upon them, they really apply to everything in your life. So these are my 5 principles. The first one was also Socrates' first principle, which is know thyself. The second one is proper movement first. Third one is strength is a skill. Fourth one is best is the enemy of better. And the fifth one is your goals matter. So let's dive into these a little bit and talk about each one in a little bit more detail. So let's start with number one. My first principle, Socrates' first principle, whoever you want to give the credit to for coming up with that one, it's up to you. Um, of course, that's a joke. You should definitely give it to me. So know thyself. How does this apply to everything you do? Well, if you don't know what you want out of life, you're never going to find anything. If you don't know who you are as a person, what your values are, what your virtues are, what your skills are, what your talents are, what you're good at, what you're bad at, you're never going to understand your place in the world. You're never going to know who you are as a person. If you don't know what you want, what you desire, you'll also have to acknowledge your desires and the things that make you happy and the things that make you sad. You have to understand why the things that make you happy, and why the things that make you sad make you sad. And of course, you run the whole gamut of all emotions with that. And through this development, you will basically develop a better understanding of who you are as a person and why you feel the way you do and what sorts of things have impacted your life in certain ways to cause you to have certain outlooks, perspectives, understandings, reactions, if you will. What role did your childhood play? What role did your friends play? What specific events in your life shaped your perceptions around you? What made you decide to do this? Maybe it was become vegan. What made you decide to become vegan? Maybe you're thinking about becoming vegan. What is it that's making you decide to do that? So there are so many things, and what are your relationships like with your friends, with your family, with your parents? Let's say you get uncomfortable every time you go over to your parents' house. Why does that happen? What is it about that relationship that makes you uncomfortable, and what needs to happen in order for it to be better? Or is it even something that you want to be better? So these are all things that come through the process of self-knowledge. So know thyself. And the better you understand yourself, the more you realize that you don't know about yourself. So it's a constant quest of better understanding for who you are, who you want to be, and who you think you ought to be. So if you keep aspiring, this gets to the fourth principle, but if you keep aspiring to do better in your understanding of yourself, you will improve every day. You'll get closer to happiness. You'll get closer to joy and contentment and all of the things that you want out of your life. You'll get closer to that if you aspire to that every day. Second principle, proper movement first. Now, specifically how this applies to strength training is you want to learn proper movements. So you don't just want to start squatting, because if you don't know how to squat or you can't move properly in the squat, you're going to hurt yourself. Same is true for the overhead press, for the kettlebell swing. Any exercise you're doing, if you don't know how to do it right, you're just going to end up hurting yourself. You might not hurt yourself right away. You might not hurt yourself for a couple years, but eventually you're not going to be making progress. You're going to be causing pain, and that just eliminates all progress entirely. As far as how it applies to life, proper movement first is really about developing a better understanding of the relationships in your life, the people in your life. You want to have as good a footing as you can with the understanding, with the aspects of your life. If you're about to undertake a project, let's say there's a big project, you want to try to understand as many different aspects of that project as you can before you undertake that project. You don't want to just dive into the deep end because you'll inevitably end up over your head. So you want to plan it appropriately as much as you can. There are some things that you can just dive into, certainly, like I did with this. But even so, I put a lot of time and effort into thinking about what I wanted to discuss, as opposed to just turning on a camera and going hog wild at it. I even did research on what camera I should get and what software I should use and things like that, what sort of topics I should discuss, that kind of stuff. So you want to try to develop as much of an understanding of what actions you're about to undertake before you undertake them. Third principle, strength is a skill. Specifically how this applies to strength training, of course, is the application of, or the acquisition of strength is best achieved when you approach it as practice. You want to practice these exercises that you're going through every day, and you want to specifically do them well. A baseball pitcher doesn't just throw fastballs until his arm falls off. He throws them until he achieves the best possible pitch he can get. Same with a quarterback. A basketball player doesn't shoot three free throws till he can't shoot them anymore. He shoots free throws until he feels comfortable with his form and has developed a better understanding of how that mechanism works. You want to approach everything you do in your life as practice, because the more you can practice it, the better you're going to be at it. When it comes to applying this in life, the relationships that you have with people, the conversations that you have with them, the feelings, emotions, and sentiments that you share with them, this is all a way of practice. And if you can approach it that way, you'll get better at these relationships, at friendships, at relationships with the people in your lives, no matter how in-depth or shallow they may be. By shallow, I don't mean like callous. I mean just you don't really know the person very well. If you think of it as a pool of understanding. Anyway, so approach life as practice. And I have another video that specifically addresses life as practice, so I won't get into that too much. But just think of everything you do as an opportunity to improve upon the skills that you have. And even if you don't think you have a skill, just practicing it will develop it. Everybody has these skills. They just might be really, really bad at it. And so you're really bad at talking in front of people. Well, the more you practice at speaking in front of people, the better you're going to get, even if you think you're absolutely terrible at it. The more you practice it, the better you'll get. Fourth skill. This one's really big. Best is the enemy of better. When it comes to strength training, if you are trying to max out, whether it's in amount of weight moved or amount of effort exerted, you're going to burn out and you're never going to get better, because your best is a finite point in time, given all of the circumstances that go into that particular exertion or outing, however you want to think about it. And if you're aspiring to do that every single day, you're never going to get any better, because you're not changing the circumstances. In fact, you are diminishing your potential, because from performing at your absolute utmost best, you're burning yourself out. So the next time you try to perform at that level, you're going to actually not be able to even achieve that level. It's just going to diminish. Diminishing marginal returns, for those of you that follow my econ channel. But I digress. So as far as how this applies to life, best is the enemy of better. If you're constantly trying to do your utmost best at something, you are going to feel intimidated, you're going to feel overwhelmed, and you're not going to achieve nearly as good as you might if you just took a step back and just tried to do better. See, if you do better every single time, you're going to be great at whatever you're doing in no time, and your potential for even improving still will be beyond your wildest imaginations, because all you're trying to do is just a little bit better. And better is such a wide scope of things that you can do. Whatever it is, if you can be better. When you're speaking in front of people or you're speaking to a camera, there are so many different things that you can do. Eye contact with the audience, effective articulation and enunciation of specific words that you may have had trouble with, engaging with a little bit of humor. There are so many different things that you can do. Talking with your hands, not talking with your hands, that you can experiment with, you can try, you can work with, and then get better at. So before you get overwhelmed with thinking that every time you go to do something you have to do it absolutely the best you can possibly be, just remember that as long as you're doing better, you're making progress, and you're going to do better. Do better today, you'll do better tomorrow, and just think about how much further along you'll be than you were before. And then the last one, and this is a very personal one, but it's personal to every person who undertakes it, and that is that your goals matter. When it comes to strength training, whatever your goals are, is it to lose weight, get stronger, feel better, look better, move big weights, have big muscles, whatever it is, your goals matter. And if you remember that every time you go to exercise, whether it's in your living room or the gym, if you remember that your goals matter, you're going to be motivated to do them. And when it comes to life, from our first principle of knowing thyself, that includes knowing what your goals are. What do you want to accomplish? And our last goal brings it full circle, letting you know that they matter. Whatever you want to do, do you want to go vegan? Do you want to convince your friends to go vegan? Do you want to ask that pretty girl out on a date? What is it that you want to do? And the more you can value your own goals, the more you will value yourself. And that's what it's really all about. If you believe that you have self-worth, that you are an important person, you're going to be happy. You're going to live a life of purpose and meaning. And that's what everybody wants. So just remember that whatever your goals are, they matter. Let me know what you think of this, what you think of these 5 principles, and let me know your thoughts down in the comments. What are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? And like and subscribe, rate and share, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in. What if I tilt it this way, and then I tilt it this way? I don't know. It might not actually do anything for me. No. You can see my chest.